John Eats Cheap doing one. Mrs. Cheap has wanted to do for a while. She loves Red Lobster Cheddar Bay biscuits. Everybody loves them. They're great. And you can buy the mix in the store. This was $3.49, and this makes, let's see, 8 to 10 biscuits, however big you do them. So that's $3.49. You can make them from home. We've been doing this for years using bisquick, or we do like the Hy-Vee bisquick. And with the Red Lobster one, you have to add butter, you have to add cheese. You got to do that for the homemade ones as well. So we just want to see taste comparison. Obviously, the homemade is going to be cheaper, but let's see how close they are taste-wise. So I'm only making a half a batch of the Bisquick brand. So I got my cup of Bisquick. Let's open up the Red Lobster. And I always wonder a lot of times when they say, here's how you make it homemade, here's our recipe. Are they really giving you the real one? So we'll see. Wow, that's the seasoning mix for the butter. It's not very big. But anyway, so let's get our mix in here. And it's interesting that the Red Lobster one you add water to, the homemade one you add milk. So that really has the consistency looks about the same. Of course, there's going to be twice as much, probably. As I said, I'm only doing half a batch of the homemade. So, the Bisquick one, we add, let's see, a cup of water. Oh, 3/4 cup of cold water. Let me make sure that's 3/4 cup. It is. So that goes in. And stir together the water, cheese, and biscuit mix. This is the cheese. I'm adding half a cup of shredded cheddar cheese. So that goes in. And mix it up. Just don't over mix. I mean, that's pretty simple. Right out of the box. I'm interested to see what the difference is in this, because we make the homemade ones and you know, they're close enough. Maybe you haven't had a real Red Lobster one in a while. And you say, yeah, that's it. But it's actually not close, so that's why we're gonna do this head to head. I suppose if we wanted to, we should have ordered some DoorDash. Hello, Red Lobster, I just need a dozen biscuits, please. And we're obviously gonna have some leftovers here, so we wanna see how they freeze. And maybe try some tomorrow with biscuits and gravy. I don't know. All right, let's get the knockoff. This is a cup of Bisquick and 1/3 cup of milk. To that, we're gonna add 1/4 cup of the cheddar cheese because we're cutting it in half.
We'll put the full recipe in
the
description below.
And mix this up. It looks like it could use a little more moisture maybe. Nah, it'll work. I guess it's getting done. We're gonna bake these in the oven at 425 until they look done, and then of course you top them with melted butter and the secret seasonings. And I just looked at the ingredient list on the seasonings from the Red Lobster, because the knockoff recipe just said garlic powder and melted butter. The Red Lobster seasoning mix says garlic powder, salt, onion powder, and parsley. So I'm gonna do, instead of salt, I'll do a little garlic salt, a little garlic powder, onion powder, and then the parsley. So that looks like that's pretty mixed up, I think. Now let's get ready to, let's see, I got all my ingredients in there, so let's get ready to get these on the cookie sheets. All right, let's get these. This one seems a little fluffier, a little easier to deal with, I think. Supposed to get 8 to 10 portions, about 1/4 cup each, about 2 inches apart. I'm thinking that's probably about like that. And it is a sticky dough. So let's get all the real Red Lobster ones going here. So the Red Lobsters are ready. We got 8 nice sized ones out of there. Now the knockoff. And this is a much thicker, tougher to handle dough. I will say that, but it seems to be sticking together better. Look at that, I can kind of do that with it. So I do like that. There we go. This one, the knockoff, was much easier to handle. So here's our seasoning packet, which has the salt, onion powder, garlic powder, and parsley. I'm just gonna pour it into a little ramekin just so we can look at it, because I want to try and copy that for the other ones. So that's what we have. That's, wow, that's probably less than a tablespoon. So it's not gonna take much in our recreation. So here's our recreation. A little bit of, I'm gonna go with the garlic salt first. A little garlic salt. Some granulated garlic or garlic powder. We'll go extra on that. Onion powder. That's about the same amount, it looks like. We get the little bit of parsley in there. Although I'm not seeing a lot of parsley. I guess it's very tiny in that one. It'll be a little bigger in this one. And there we go. There's our, now we just need to mix these into the melted butter. I have a 1/4 cup of melted butter in each one. So we'll go in and whisk those up. And wait for it to be done. All right, so our knockoffs are the first ones done, the homemade. My butter solidified a little bit, but that's okay because these are hot. It'll melt it up. Get it on top. The other ones are finishing up in the oven. Mrs. Cheap and I disagree on one thing, because I want, with my biscuits, I want them to give me some butter too. She's like, there's plenty on there, but I like a lot of butter on my biscuits. All right, so that's probably how they do it at the restaurant right there. Let me get our others and we'll do a taste test. So there's the Red Lobster mix ones. They're nice and brown on the bottom. I probably could have made them just a little smaller. They did flatten out, so they're less round than the ones at the restaurant. But we'll brush these with a little butter with their seasoning mix and see how it goes. All right, the knockoff. Ooh, a little extra brown on the bottom. Pull it apart. Ooh, that's a good bite right there. And we're gonna have Mrs. Cheap try it too. The other, the flying biscuit. Now the Red Lobster, brown on the bottom. This one might have a little better consistency cooked. Give me a second, let me take another bite. This is close. I'm going to be full after this. All right, I think I've made my decision. We're gonna let Mrs. Cheap give it a try now. So there we are, and you can see the cheese in there. I mean, they look pretty identical, and Mrs. Cheap pointed out the homemade ones stayed poofed up. The Red Lobster ones kind of flattened out a little bit. So I've tried them, and Mrs. Cheap has tried them. Mrs. Cheap, let me hear what you think.
The Red Lobster ones taste like the Red Lobster biscuits.
They do. They have that consistency.
Oh yeah, it's smoother. Is that a good way to describe?
Smoother or fluffier, maybe.
Right. but I like the knockoff ones better.
Taste-wise, I thought it was a push. I thought if you tasted both, you would think it was all the same thing. I do like that, you know, with the knockoff, the homemade, you can add a little more. I guess you could with this too. You could add a little of the onion powder or the garlic powder. But this one tastes a little more garlicky to me. I'm going to put some butter on there.
You added lots of garlic.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, this was $3.49, and this was, we're trying to figure it out. It's a cup of Bisquick. Of course, if we made twice as much, it would be 2 cups. I would guess $1.50, maybe $2. And the thing is, this is no easier. I mean, the only thing that you have to do with the homemade, I guess, is measure out 2 cups of Bisquick. Otherwise, it's kind of the same thing. I think it's a lot easier with the homemade, and we know we don't have to mess with this now. We'll just go with the homemade. From scratch, too, right? And now we have a lot of biscuits. This is actually what we're having for lunch. How sad is that? Mrs. Cheap is like, that's all I want. So we're going to have these for lunch. We are going to try freezing a few of them to see how that does, because freezing biscuits works pretty well, even though these aren't your typical biscuits for freezing, like if you're going to do sausage gravy, which we may have for breakfast tomorrow to try these with that as well. But thanks for watching. Follow us on TikTok too, Facebook and Instagram, John Eats Cheap. Give us a share, a thumbs up, share a comment too. Thanks for watching John Eats Cheap. It's lunchtime.